All right, this video just walks through the academic suspension appeal process and kind of what to expect and what is going to happen next. Thank you so much for listening and joining in. And so kind of first, we took a bit of a poll thinking about, how many folks from the fall are in a similar situation. And honestly, the big takeaway is that you're not alone going through the suspension process and the appeal process, because actually 18% of the students from the fall also received suspension letters and are going to be going through this. And so while our live crowd guessed it was maybe 26%, it is a little bit less than that. It actually was 18%. But really the big picture is that you are not alone in this whatsoever, and we are here to help and support you. And so just as a quick review, suspension, it happens for two reasons. You've completed or exceeded the 24 probation credits without raising your GPA to a 2.0, or your cumulative GPA, dropped or stayed below a 1.0 while you were on probation. And so those are the two reasons why suspension would happen. And if you're not sure, how you fit into that, or if you think there is a mistake, definitely reach out to probation@unco.edu so we can look through your record, talk to your advisor, and we can make sure to explain that and get anything straightened out for you. Now, once you get suspended, there's kind of two pathways forward. And so first, you can prepare an appeal to remove your suspension for 1 semester. And so that's what we're really going to be focusing on. If you want to continue on in the spring, you're like, no, I want to keep going, I'm ready, I got a plan, then you'd want to do a suspension appeal. Or if you decide to wait a little bit longer, then you would be looking at a readmission. And that's going to happen after you are gone for 1 semester. And so the suspension does sort of force you to take a break for at least 1 semester unless you have a successful appeal here on file. And the whole reason why we do this is because, financial aid doesn't really like failing classes, as you know, and you need to have a 2.0 GPA to graduate from UNC. And so we don't want you, taking these classes, spending money, getting closer towards graduation, spending time if your GPA isn't going to be high enough to, actually allow you to graduate and get that diploma. And so this is where the probation, that warning that you're below that graduation kind of broad minimum, and then suspension comes into play. And so in our live audience, most people decided that they were going to come right back for the spring, and so that is going to be that suspension appeal process. So let's talk about it now. So in terms of preparing your appeal for the spring, I want to appeal my suspension, come right back into the classes I was registered for, or be able to register and take classes this spring. So there's 3 things that your appeal is going to require. First is going to be, submitting the application. Suspension appeals are due January 3rd at 5 p.m. That is the Monday right after the holidays. All right, and so be working on it now. You can turn it in certainly before that, but really we are going to be looking at January 3rd, 5 p.m. That is that first Monday. Campus is back open, first Monday after New Year's. And in that application and letter, you need to write a letter explaining what happened, what changed, and what the plan is. And so the more specific you are in your letter, typically the more persuasive and stronger your appeal is going to be. So when we say what happened, it's, did you have a job that you constantly had to work during class time? Did you or somebody in your family or somebody have COVID, and that obviously makes it extremely challenging, to be successful? Do you feel like you were in the wrong major? You just were really unmotivated by your classes. Whatever it is that happened, make sure to describe that and tell the committee about it. And then you want to talk about what changed. So if it was the work situation, how is that different? Does your class schedule make it different this time? Did you find a new job? Did you, recover? Whatever it is, talk about what changed, and then be very specific in what the plan is. So if you didn't use tutorial services, this past semester, then talk about how the plan is to use tutoring for this class, and this class. If you didn't use the Writing Center, talk about how you're going to send all your papers to the Writing Center. It's really talking about very specifically what is the plan and what is your action to give us a good sense of how it's going to be different this time to make sure that you do pass your classes. And then last, you want to attach any other documents. That's going to include, letters of reference, if you have those from a professor or a mentor or an advisor. It could also be, if you got a really great feedback on some of your papers in one class, really showing your potential, medical records, really any kind of document that you think is going to strengthen your appeal based on what you talked about in that letter. All right. Now, after you submit your appeal, your application, what happens is it's going to go to our academic review committee. There's 7 people from all across campus representing the different colleges and areas, and they're going to read through all your documents, and then they're going to, assess. They talk a lot. They think really, really hard about it. Really, this is something we take very seriously. And then they will give you basically one of 2 decisions. And so first, if your appeal is denied, you will get recommendations from the committee for readmission in the future. So they might say, maybe not now, but perhaps you should do fresh start. Or if you go to, Ames or Front Range or some other institution and earn a 3.0 that semester, that would definitely really show us that you're ready to come back. So I think it's always worth submitting an appeal so that way you can get that recommendation. So that's going to 1, it'd be denied. If that happens, you will not be able to take classes in the spring or until you have that readmission appeal. The other option is that it's approved, and I'm going to send out positive vibes hoping that that is the case for you. And so you will have 1 semester to reach a 2.0. You'll be able to take, your classes this spring, and you will go along kind of as you have been, but with that goal of getting to a 2.0 by the end of the spring semester if your appeal is approved. Now, to get to the appeal site, you can go to unco.edu/advising. And so that website here is going to take you to our main academic advising homepage. If you hover over students, you can go right down to academic probation. And right here at the top, we have suspension appeals, and a link right there to appeal your suspension. This is also where you can find information on fresh start, the readmission process, and all of your college contacts and support. So once you are in that suspension appeal box, you can just go to appeal your suspension, and it will open up this form. You're going to select the suspension appeal if you're trying to get back for the spring semester, fill in all of your information, check, what kind of services you've used before, and then here is where you can upload that letter. And we have explained again, the things that we're really looking for in the letter. So just like if you're writing an essay for class, go back to this prompt here and make sure that you are describing and kind of talking about each of the things. So you will attach that letter, a document or a PDF. And then here you can also attach additional supporting documents, and you can upload a bunch of those. And so once you upload all your documents, you'll just go down to the bottom and press submit. Now, if you are preparing your appeal for fall or later, so you decided not to do a suspension appeal, but you are ready to come back through our readmission process. This is different than the first application you submitted to UNC. And so you will be just applying for readmission through actually our same form here, but this time it's going to be a readmission form instead of the suspension form. We do typically recommend that you take 12 classes, so basically a semester of classes at another school, get a 2.0, and then you'll want to upload that transcript with your documents. And you will also need to submit a letter, really same thing as a suspension appeal letter. You're going to want to be very specific in what happened, what changed, what your plan is moving forward. And so with that readmission appeal, you'll submit the readmission application, concrete letter, persuade us, run it through spell check, run it through grammar check, get, a professional letter template, make it stand out, make it look really good, like you put a lot of effort into it, and make sure you're very clear in what happened, what changed, what is the plan, and then make sure you upload transcripts, references, records, anything that might help that appeal. And by helping the appeal, we're just talking about can you kind of show the committee what the plan is and that you're ready to move forward. We do have some options for readmission as well that kind of go around that appeal, and that is fresh start. And so if this was your very first semester at college and it just did not go very well, you might be eligible for fresh start freshman, which is really, is your first year. And you just need to kind of wipe the board clean. Your C-, D+, D, D-, and F grades will no longer count towards graduation or your GPA. So it is a fresh start. You would have to retake possibly some of those classes, but it can be a really great option. And if you think you're eligible, definitely talk to your advisor or reach out to probation@unco.edu so we can help you through that process. If you're thinking about being gone for a bit longer, like 3 years, you would be eligible for fresh start returning. And we definitely have a lot of students, especially if maybe it was their sophomore or even junior year where things, went a little rough. They leave for 3 years, come back through fresh start returning, and then, go on to graduate and do awesome things with kind of a fresh GPA. All right. And so the last kind of tips and steps are just about drafting the appeal. So I'd say, pull out pen, paper right now and write down 2 reasons why your semester, what happened. It didn't go your way. Get 2 bullet points down that you think you're going to talk about in your letter. And then write down how that situation has evolved or changed. So for each of your bullet points, I want you to note, are there any documents that you might need to attach with your application? And how does that connect with an action plan? And this is going to just be the start of your outline. And then you'll be able to flesh it out, right? Complete beautiful sentences. Again, make sure to spell check, grammar check it, and you'll be well on your way for your appeal. And so kind of my top tip is start with 2 reasons on, what happened, right? That's going to get you that first half of the appeal. Okay, what happened? Do you need documents about what happened? All right, how has that situation changed? What is different now? And how are you going to connect that to an action plan? So start with that if you feel a little bit stuck. Get those 2 bullet points down, and then just start describing, explaining the details of the circumstances so we can understand, what's going to be different in the spring semester for you. Well, from our live audience, these are definitely very common things, but some folks, ask for help. Major changes, a lot of people do end up changing their major, and we see with major changes, GPA go up quite a bit when you're suddenly more interested, more motivated, maybe you just vibe more with this department now. And then getting involved as well can definitely make a big difference. So think about, things that you didn't do in the last semester that you want to do next semester. Think about things that you did do that maybe you shouldn't or don't want to do as much of that anymore. And all of that is really going to go in and help you with your appeal process. And of course, be sure to reach out, probation@unco.edu with any questions. I will be on the lookout for your appeals. Positive vibes, you got this. We're here for you.